This is the second part of my discussion of the story of Jephthah and the sacrifice of his daughter to Yahweh, as recorded in Judges 11:29 through 40. If you came upon this part first, it's fine. They can be understood apart from each other. Christians tend to pretend that Jephthah didn't sacrifice his daughter because they believe child sacrifice is unacceptable to Yahweh. In this part of the discussion regarding this girl, I want to deny their claim that Yahweh is against child sacrifice. The Israelites offered their children to the gods to obtain favor. We know that. But what some don't seem to know is that it was Yahweh's idea that they do that. He wanted them to sacrifice their children to him. Ezekiel 20:26 states, "And I defiled them through their gifts, in making them offer by fire all their firstborn, that I might horrify them. I did it that they might know that I am the Lord." That's from the Revised Standard Version. You can look it up in various versions. Some translations try to make that first part not to be quite as clear that it's Yahweh's doing, but it doesn't matter because the last part is unambiguous. Here it is in the NIV. "I defiled them through their gifts, the sacrifice of their firstborn, that I might fill them with horror so they would know that I am the Lord." The King James Version says, "And I polluted them in their own gifts, in that they caused to pass through the fire all that openeth the womb, that I might make them desolate, to the end that they might know that I am the Lord." See, it's still Yahweh's doing. It was his command. Now, Exodus 13:2 in the NIV says, "Consecrate to me every firstborn male, the first offspring of every womb among the Israelites belongs to me, whether human or animal." What do you think that means? What did it mean with regard to the animal? Or, as the KJV says, the beast? Did they teach the beast about Yahweh and turn it into some sort of preacher of righteousness? Is that how they devoted it to the Lord? No, they did to the beast what they did to the firstborn children. They did to the beast what Jephthah said he'd do to the first thing that came out to greet him when he arrived home after defeating the Ammonites. They did what Jephthah did to his daughter. They burnt their children as a sacrifice. The Israelites sacrificed their children, we know that. And it worked, at least with other gods. 2 Kings 3:27 states regarding the king of Moab, "Then he took his firstborn son, who was to succeed him as king, and offered him as a sacrifice on the city wall. The fury against Israel was great. They withdrew and returned to their own land." The sacrifice of a firstborn son is obviously well-pleasing to the gods. The king here won the victory over Israel because of this sacrifice. Oh, sure, rather than take this as it is, Christians do as they always do and try to make it say something it doesn't say. But the question is, why? Why do they even care? When Christians are presented with stories that show Yahweh commanded the Israelites to kill infants, they don't bat an eye. Deuteronomy 32:25 even says to kill the suckling. They ripped nursing babies from their mother's arms and thrust swords through them at Yahweh's command. And what do Christians have to say about that? Well, those little babies might have brought evil in their land. Those little babies might have caused them to pull away from Yahweh. So it's okay to kill little babies if they're going to draw you away from Yahweh. Oh, yes. They say that. It was said to me just recently. So what's the problem then? In this passage regarding the sacrifice of children, Yahweh gives the same reason for it. He says he caused them to do it for a purpose, the purpose being to devastate them so they would know that he was the Lord. He was attempting to draw them to himself. Interestingly, his plan failed, of course. Didn't draw them back to him. And they never came back. They just went further and further away from him. You'd have thought Yahweh would have learned this lesson when he destroyed almost everybody in the flood. He just keeps doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. I think they say that's the definition of insanity. Bless Yahweh's heart, most of his plans fail. Even the sacrifice of his own son failed, since most people don't believe it. Anyway, we're to believe that it's good and holy to kill little boys if they might someday draw us away from our God. But it's not okay to kill little boys if it will draw us toward our God. From where do Christians get their sense of what is and is not good and holy? You know, sometimes you just have to admit that you're either totally deluded or you're dishonest. Because anybody who says murdering babies is evil if it draws us toward a God, but holy if it keeps us from being drawn away from a God, is either totally incapable of understanding anything he reads, probably because he has shut down his mind on purpose, or he's a liar. Assuming those who say these things are honest, but simply not thinking clearly, for whatever reason, let me be extremely plain here. Thrusting a sword through a child to appease your God and burning a child to appease your God are both child sacrifice. You get that, right? Whether it's your firstborn you're burning or somebody else's child you're ramming your sword through, it's still child sacrifice to a God. And if you're a Christian, you approve of child sacrifice. Truth be told, you depend on it for your salvation. Let's not forget about little baby Jesus. You better hope that particular child sacrifice works to appease your God, hadn't you? Listen, Christians, you admit that Yahweh told his people to murder babies to appease his wrath. So why, in the name of all that is sane, would you turn around and say, Yahweh would never tell him to murder babies to appease his wrath? You don't think much about this, do you? You just close your eyes and stick your fingers in your ears and say, God is good all the time, God is good. His thoughts are not my thoughts. I'm just too ignorant to understand. Well, it's time for you to man up or woman up and admit that the burning of children was pleasing to your God, or the slicing up of the babies was evil. You can decide for yourself whether you approve or disapprove, but they stand or fall together. I mean, unless you want to say it's okay to sacrifice foreign babies, but not homegrown babies. That's it, isn't it? That's what it all boils down to. It's okay to sacrifice foreign babies, but horrible to sacrifice native-born babies. Deny it if you will, but it's all you're left with. Well, you just lost that too. Jephthah's daughter was not an alien. She was his own child, and he sacrificed her. And it's beyond me why it bothers you that Yahweh would be fine with the murder of one's own child and sacrifice to himself, when you believe his command to murder the children of others and sacrifice to him is perfectly fine. Yahweh commands the murder of children. Murdering children has been, at least at some time in Yahweh's evolving history, requisite to pleasing him. You know this. You approve of this. As I said in the first part of this study, your whole religion is based on the fact that Yahweh actually requires the shedding of the blood of a human in order for him to be happy with you. And many of you, those who follow fundamental Christianity, well, you don't even stop there. You approve of not only burning humans while they're alive, But you approve of burning them after they die. And that for all eternity. It's disgraceful. I beg you, think about what you believe and support. And when you see that it's evil, let it go. Let it go, please. For Jephthah's daughter. Thank you for watching. Bye.